Before I started this program, I was a taker. Now I
Mm.
want to give. I didn't even know my brain was so messed up. I was using 20% of my brain because I was so addicted to porn. My spirituality grew, as you know,
Yeah.
and my ability to communicate and have better relationships with my wife, with my colleagues at work, within my job. And I didn't understand it was going to come back tenfold.
So, hey everyone, I have here John coming off the implementation. He's been in the program for over a year now, and he's willing to share his experience and just his journey from starting the reboot process towards like a year into it, right? Doesn't mean it's over. It's just that it's great to see you here, John. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you actually came across this program?
Yeah. So about myself is I've been addicted to porn for, makes me sad to say this, at least over 50 years. That's a
Mm.
long time.
Yeah.
And I tried so many different things, and I came across the program through one of many of my futile efforts going online, looking to watch YouTubes. And I actually believe I found this going through LinkedIn. But I came across videos that JK, the founder, had been putting out. And then after listening to it for about a year, then I tuned into the program. And I was lucky enough to be here. It was a
Nice. No, and thank you for sharing that. And what was going on? How were you feeling emotionally before you started the program? How were you feeling?
emotionally an imposter, a
Mm.
complete imposter. I looked one way on the outside, and on the inside, I was a completely different person. And I felt very ashamed, embarrassed, and like a complete imposter
Yeah.
and
Okay.
out of control. I thought I was going to die with this horrible
Oh man.
addiction.
And I appreciate you being vulnerable, brother. So dang, that is feel like an imposter, right? Something's not aligning with yourself, and you felt it, right? We feel it when we're not aligned with what we got to do. And so coming into the program, what was that? What was it like? What was your initial thoughts after like feeling this way and implementing? What was happening for you in the first couple of months?
Well, the first week was scary because I
Mhm.
didn't understand what was going on. So it had to go to letting go of control. So I had to put my faith in the people in this program. And the first week was challenging because I didn't understand the process. There's all these activities going on nonstop. And you more than anybody would know, I believe I was emailing and texting you 3 times a day, every day. How do I do this? And what does this mean? And you were so patient and so good. And you helped me through every single bit where I was a little confused to make sure I got on board. The first few months was very exciting because there were so many activities. It was a process. And that's why I joined this program. It was a process. I didn't have a process. Willpower didn't work. And
Right.
there was a process, but I didn't understand this was a whole bunch of processes. So it's not
Mhm.
one thing, it's a whole bunch of things going on all the time. And you choose the processes and you work with the processes, and each process is a little different. So it helps you not only get past your addiction, which is a challenging to do, but minimize that effect, and more importantly, heal the inner part of yourself that's so damaged that I
Mm.
didn't realize I was just numbing myself because of all the pain. So it's not only the process of getting past your addiction, but the process of healing from the wounds that caused that. And then giving me a plan of action going forward. I'd never had anything like this before. And I had searched the world. I had looked for years. I mean, I could give you 50 books I've read. None of them worked, but this did because it was an actual process.
Nice. And through this process, and thank you for sharing, John. That's very inspiring to hear that you actually took the action, right? And it may seem confusing at first because it's a shock to your system and pretty much life that oh like this is for real, right? This is it. Either you rewire your brain or you stay the same in your pain. And that's why you chose the conscious decision to move forward. And through that process, what worked for you? What was like your go-to tool that was helping you the most?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And it's an interesting question because you think you'd say, "Oh, it was this specific thing that did it." No, it was all of them. And at
Mm.
different periods, I would put more energy into one versus another because it's not only a process, but there's a whole bunch of tools available. So
Right.
at the beginning, I worked on something called the modules. I put a lot of energy into that. I got involved with the weekly meetings. I
Mm.
got very involved with the reboot coaches, yourself and others. And I started to see how things would come together. So it wasn't one thing in particular, but what I found was in the beginning, I would just focus energy on certain processes more than others, although I was doing all the processes concurrently. And that seemed to work the best. And it's like a journey. It's truly a
Yeah.
journey. And it was a year, but it was a year that I put everything else on hold. My
Mm,
job, my marriage, not that I didn't do my job and I wasn't married, but the number one priority was this program. And I made it the number one priority. And that's where I got the results. It was
nice.
saying this is the most important thing. If this is the most important thing, then this program is the most important program. So here's the challenge. Do I have faith to put that into people I don't even know? Well, I sure do, because it was such a track record. You've done healed thousands of young men. Why not me?
Yeah, there
From
you
all
go.
different age groups and all different socio. I mean, it doesn't matter what your religion is, what your age is, what your income is. It has nothing to do with that. So why
Yeah.
wouldn't I want to trust you? So it had to be with trust.
Okay. Dang. So trust was pretty much putting all your chips in one basket or the play here, right? And saying, "Hey, I'm gonna take a risk here. Either it works or it doesn't." But you obviously you had the fate leaning towards more like, "Well, if it works for other people, it'll definitely work for me." And that is true, right? No one's different. We're all human. We all have a human experience. We all have the same. We all go through life. It's really like applying this into your life versus letting it just I don't know. This behavior is not. It's not fun when your life is kind of right. You don't want to continue that, and especially right since you're older and you're like, man, you literally said I thought I was gonna die with this, and that's a sucky feeling to have, right? You saying that kind of sparked like, man, what if I felt that way? Am I gonna die with this? And I'm glad that you don't feel that way anymore. And so attending these calls and applying the modules so what keeps you grounded now as you already at a point where you have something more consistent in your life? So what is something that you do that keeps you actually improving your life, not just off your compulsive behavior, but looking for towards something more meaningful in your life? What's that for you?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And you know what's amazing? I can actually now think about that.
Yeah.
In the past, a year ago, that thought could never enter my mind because I was just so caught up in my daily addiction. So now I can do a lot of other things I haven't done. My morning routine is a very grounding. You said, what is grounding? That is the grounding part for me. My morning routine. And there's a process in this program where you go through a feelings exercise and you do a certain process to ground your feelings. So that's how I start my day out. And what's happened since this program is completed, I'm now being able to put more effort into my job, into my relationship with my wife, and even to my spiritual side. But
Uh-huh.
it was okay because I couldn't even do that a year ago. Now I can do it. There's like
Yeah.
100% of me here to do it with. A year ago, there was just a fragment. It was like
Yeah.
25% of me. The rest was, I don't know what it was. So it's
Yeah.
it's amazing doors have opened. And that's the process I follow.
That's good, man. And if you could give a little more details, how have you shown up in your marriage? What has your wife noticed about you?
Yeah, well, this all started out with honesty because when I
Uh-huh.
signed up for the program, I
Yeah.
signed up, but I didn't tell her I signed up. She didn't know I had this horrible addiction to porn. And I tell her I'm signing up for a program. So I wasn't going to tell her. I just thought I'll just have to somehow figure out how I'll pay this every month without her knowing. And I had wonderful counseling from the management of the company of elevated recovery. And,
Yeah.
they take you through a process, even to sign up. You're going through a process to sign up to make sure you're ready for this type of program. So the gentleman I talked to, he said, hold on now. No, this isn't about not being that. You need to think about being an honest person so you can love your life and your wife. So you got to come clean with her. And he gave me great advice how to talk to her about doing this. And I did. And when I
Yeah.
did that, she said, well, guess what? I've always known you had a porn addiction. So she was very supportive of it. So immediately our marriage started getting better. And I told her, I said, I need to make this number one. And she understood. But what
Awesome.
happened was I suddenly started to be able to talk to her like I could never talk to her before. And the program helped me understand how best to talk to my wife. How about that? You know,
Yeah.
it's just amazing. So
Yeah.
when you say, how does it improve honesty,
Okay.
integrity? And because I'm a good person and getting better, I can actually be more responsive to her with what's right for me. You see, in the
Mm.
past, I always felt like, well, I'm such a rotten, horrible person. I wouldn't want her to know who I really am. So I'll just agree with something if I don't really agree with it. Well, now we talk about things and we're honest and we do it in a non-hurtful manner.
Wow, that's really good, man. And
Well, Restus, you said has improved.
yeah,
One thing, this is the biggest part of the program that I did, it was a complete shock. I came into this program about my porn addiction and it got me through it. I didn't realize it's going to help me grow 100 other different ways. So once I started improving on the addiction, suddenly it opened me up to so many opportunities that I could never think. I didn't even know my brain was so messed up. I was using 20% of my brain because I was so addicted to porn. Suddenly my brain opened up, my spirituality grew, as you know,
yeah,
and my ability to communicate and have better relationships with my wife, with my colleagues at work, within my job, and with my daughter, with my friends. And I didn't understand it was going to come back tenfold. I just that's the great gift.
yeah. It's not, man. You just unpacked a lot of things there, and no, brother, and I feel that. I feel like the honesty, it may seem like, oh, being, lying about little things, it does add up. Like, it does affect you when you're not aligning with your integrity, especially if you're lying to people who are close to you. It does really affect you, right? It's not a good place to be. So, because if you lie with the little things, what makes you think you will lie about other things? And it just becomes like a cycle of just shame and guilt, right? Like, why are you lying? Like, it was probably unconscious at that point. But now, how do you feel that way, right? So my question to you here is, how many things were so unconscious that looking back at now hindsight, what were beliefs that were unconscious that you were buying into?
Well, let's go back to your key word,
Yeah,
integrity. I had no integrity. How could I say I had integrity when I had
yeah,
this secret life looking at porn? So how can I tell you I had any integrity? I didn't have any.
that's a good point.
I could have fooled you that I did, but there was this other side of me that nobody knew about.
Yeah,
I didn't have integrity. So it was coming to realization of that. And the program helped me do that. And it helped me work through that to where I started to realize now I have integrity. So what was that like? It was like I never realized I was alive. I've been alive since I started this program. It's almost as if you said, what was your life before this program? What was your life after this program?
wow,
And
yeah,
that's really when my life started. And actually, my life started when I started this program. I couldn't realize the depths of despair I was in. And yet there are all these tools available to help me get there. So how do I feel? I feel
yeah,
like a whole different person. I,
yeah,
I could die tomorrow and be so happy. I want to die. But in the
yeah,
past, I'd be so shameful because I'd say, I'm going to go to hell. If there's a hell, I'm going to go to hell. Now I can
yeah.
say, no, that's not true.
Wow, that's so
And
good.
I'm so grateful. And the people in this program are amazing. You
Yeah,
included, I don't know how many talks we had, how many emails, how many texts. You were always there for me, always there for
yeah.
me. And that goes for every single employee that works for Elevated Recovery. Believe me, you're all angels. And
No, thank you, brother. That's so kind.
well, I don't want to go overboard, but you
Yeah,
talk about helping young men with porn addiction. I think
yeah,
you're out there saving people's souls because this porn addiction goes right to the core of who you are. You can
yeah,
be a compulsive gambler and not be that bad a person. This takes you right to the core. You work
right.
through this and you walk out saying, I'm okay. I know what's right. I know what's wrong. I'm walking a straight path.
Wow.
Whoa, could never
Yeah.
be before.
Wow. That's good, man. And I could see
For
that.
that program you do, remember you've got that you do the hot seat program where people get on and you actually dove into their deepest, darkest pain,
Oh
right
yeah.
into there.
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
letting go calls.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing too, right? A lot of it is we're so unaware or unconscious in the beginning that when you start to kind of feel, and it's funny because we think when we are off our behavior, we'll feel better. You will, but sometimes you feel worse because a lot of things are suppressed or repressed. And when it starts to come out, you're like, whoa, I feel like my beliefs are being challenged, right? I'm dealing with all this shame, guilt, anger, sadness, grief, depression, whatever it is. So just tapping into your body and just being more embodied is like important because that's where it, because if your behavior is unconscious, that means you were not consciously doing something about it. You're just like a ritual, right? You remember the days you're like, oh, you know, as soon as you grab that phone and you're in the bathroom, it's already started, right? That ritual. So once you stop that process and consciously, that split second conscious decision of like, wait, I'm not gonna do that. That's where you start challenging it. And that's the key. Those are the moments where you're like, whoa, I am really rewiring my brain. Every little decision that I make moving forward really does matter. right? Even the
Well,
lies, right? And
well,
everything.
exactly. I mean, you talk about the ritual.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much this would teach you about your ritual. You said grabbing the bath, the porn and going into the bathroom. Hold
Yeah.
on. Let's talk about when you woke up in the morning and you already knew you were going to do that before your day started. See,
Yeah.
it's getting into the ritual. This is what they teach you. My God,
Yeah.
before I even get, hold on, your ritual started at 8 a.m. when you got out of bed and you had this certain thought. So,
Yeah.
what kind of program could teach you how to do that? My
True.
and then you
Yeah.
talk
I agree.
about the feelings that came, all these feelings came up, and I was just like, what happens? You're all there to help me process them. And for example, what you do in your program, I have personally watched men bawl their eyes out and cry because they're getting rid of a pain they've had for 30 years.
Yeah.
Like, and each person has a different pain, but in a way, we all share the same pains. And it's a release. So you can't get over this addiction unless you can have the proper therapy to go through it at the same time. And
100%.
yeah, and from so many different people. I'm just talking about yours, but there's
Yeah.
so many different avenues. Very true. Freedom,
100%.
freedom.
No, thank you, brother. And that's true. Like that, and that's the end of the goal, right? Like, what is it the end result that you want from your behavior? It's just to feel free and happy, right? So, but in order to get there, it's like steps, right? We need to have boundaries. Boundaries are important. Talking to your accountability partners, right? Coaching calls and etc. So,
Well, let's talk about the fun side of this too. It's all
yeah,
fun, but
yeah,
the accountability partners, you make friends with people all over the world. I mean, I'm talking to people in England and in the Netherlands and then in New York and then in Houston, and because we're all sharing the same issue. And how fun is this? It's like a really good network, really good network. I have so much respect for the young men, especially. They're out there battling it. Oh my gosh.
yeah. And the community is great. Like, yeah, that's the one thing I would say that I would take pride in within the implementation group. The community is awesome, right? We have Reboot leaders. We got Chris as well, Reboot hero, Dom as well. And all these people are here to support you, right? And just to let you know, hey, it's okay to, your behavior is not that like we all have a common, battle here. And we're all here for the same thing.
It's interesting. You said what helped you the most, and there's so many variables, but the reboot heroes to me are the most critical component because they're there always with you through this journey. So if you get a
Yeah.
little bit off base, they're going to help you get back on base. And
Yes.
that's what's so great. And every one, the three of you, if you each take a personal care, it's like having three coaches. That's why I call it reboot heroes because
Yep.
you're there to be my hero. I'm really having a problem. You're there. And you all three keep us back on the right path. It's just set up so well. So well.
No, thank you, brother. Yeah, we that's why we're here, man. It's not for the as like being a reboot hero. It has its responsibilities, but at the end of the day, we know what it's like in the beginning, in the middle, right? Maintenance, late stage, all these stages of the reboot. We know what it's like. So being able to kind of help you, guide you through that is like we facilitate that for you, right? But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you took the action. We didn't. It's just you believe in yourself, and that's what's important.
But the
So,
tools
brother,
are there to teach us. When you started out, you talked about, oh, yeah, I'm going to try this and see if it works. And it goes right into that in one of the modules saying, look, are you going to be a trial rebooter or a real rebooter? A
yeah,
trial says, oh, well, I'll try this. And if I fall down once, then forget it. I'll move on. A real rebooter goes, okay, you fell down. We're going to show you how to get back up. And you might fall down a bunch of times, but we're going to show you the process to get back up and keep going forward. That's a real rebooter. So I never had a doubt that I wouldn't make it because all of you kept saying, if you keep doing what we tell you to do, you will win. All you got to do
oh
is
yeah,
do exactly what we tell you to do. It's
yeah,
pretty simple. Follow the recipe.
and
I am grateful, and
I
I'm
love
older
it, man.
than most men in this program. So when you're young, life seems like it'll go on forever, and somehow this will work out. But when you get older, you start to realize that you're going to die. So what about your life? Do you want to die knowing this is what your life was?
Yeah,
You believe in life after death, you want to feel you're going to go somebody else, where else that's better or
yeah,
worse. Or if you're an atheist, you just want to say that's who I was, some screwed up dude on porn. It's a whole
yeah.
different, it's a gift. It's a
That
gift.
and that's real, right? That's reality. Like, hey, that's either you do make something out of yourself or feel sorry and die a victim. Like that's
And you
so
talk about
like
addictions, of
yeah,
all the addictions in the world, porn addiction to me goes right to the core,
yeah,
right down to the core. And it's the most secret addiction there is. And men don't want to talk about it. And they carry it with them and then they die.
yeah.
how cool is this? I can actually be free.
Yeah, and no, brother, I appreciate that. You have clearly you have the appreciation of the system. And brother, so what's another win for you that kind of inspired you or to kind of look forward to, right? Now that you're here at this point, what is it? What's your next phase of your reboot journey? What's it that you're looking forward to?
Well, that's the big question.
Hmm.
So I have found that I personally enjoy interacting with a lot of the young men in this group. So I guess the word mentoring comes up. Best part of this thing is the community. So I'd
Yeah.
like to try and find something else where I can still address that. But what I'm finding is, when one door closes, another door opens. And so I'm putting myself out there and I'm trusting that, I'm in what they say when the student is ready, the teacher will arrive. And so I've gone through this and I can now look at the world through eyes I never had. So I will
Hmm.
start to see other ways. So I'm using the word give back. I want to give back desperately
Okay.
because I don't
Give
want to
back.
see anybody have to live with this horrible addiction. I want to give back. So giving back takes on many forms too. But the point is
100%.
giving back. Before I started this program, I was a taker. Now I
Mm,
want to give. That's a change. So I'm enjoying it,
that's
and
good.
that's what I look forward to.
I love that because that is very true, and we could tell like one of the signs as you're rewiring or heading in like closer to like the later stages is you want to give back, like you have a heart, right? And it's not for everyone, right? It doesn't mean you're not rewiring, guys. It just means some people have that like, wow, I have this need to help others, people.
Yeah,
And it may be in the avenue of addiction or it may be something else, right? It's addiction is very general, right? It could be like
very
you said,
general.
opens the doors to something else, right? There's a spiritual path. There's you could help through career, financial, right? Socially. You could still bring your energy and provide this presence of like, I'm a person that believes in himself and is deserving. And I like to give that experience to others. And
Well,
that is enough, right?
I've noticed at the gym, I work out at a gym. By the way, I didn't work out at a gym. I joined this program. I started working out at a gym, and it's a cool place, but there's a lot of young men there. And
Yeah.
I don't know what's happened. I just made friends with this whole group. And
Uh-huh.
since this program, I've actually been going out for each of, there's like 8 guys separately, one on one, and just talking to them about their career, what they want to do. They're like in their mid 20s. And they're like, yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. I want to be a fireman. Another one wants to be a teacher. Another one's in a band. And they're like, yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. And what do you think? And we just talk. That little
Yeah.
thing, it gives me such joy. And I'm realizing that, there's always ways to give back. And it can be as
Yeah.
simple, it's just giving back. But here's
And
the thing, that wasn't me a year ago. That's
right.
something I wished I could have been. I don't have that happen.
Yeah.
The
Hey, you're
program, it's like, so here's the neatest part. Now that the
yeah.
program's over, all these things we learned, they're like seeds planted, but they didn't just stop growing. They're continuing to grow. How beautiful
Nice.
is that?
That is really beautiful, man. I like this because I know that as soon as you walk, like even the way you talk too, right? And you show up, you genuinely love people. And it shows, right? And it's like you're it's like you open this gate and it is not a bad thing. It means like, man, I have appreciation of life. And that's like a healing presence, to be honest with you. Showing that to people and just listening. Sometimes you don't even say right, but if they ask for your input, that means you have some kind of energy that people like. So and hey, man, as a result of your hard work, you persevered. You went through the pains of going through your own traumas, right? Your own things, emotionally, mentally, mindset. You did everything, man. And mind you, this is only a year, right? And time, I know we say year and a half to two. That's just to rewire your brain. And
Yeah.
yeah, that is the true aspect physiologically. But working out through a lot of internal things, you could kind of see like if you maintain the things that have been working for you, it's just it's gonna work. Like just keep going and being open-minded to possibilities, right? Regardless of age. I know you're
Yeah.
obviously you're an older gentleman here, right? and
Thank
and
you. I
and
know,
that
I
could be
know it.
and that could be a deterrent for some. Like, oh, it's too late for me to reboot, right? For example,
It
could be
isn't.
right. It could be a limiting belief for someone that's watching, and that's my kind of to bookend here this call. What would you say to someone that's watching or listening, a brother that's like perhaps in the same age, right, or similar experience
Never
to
too late. And secondly,
yeah,
JK, the founder, put out a video once about somebody he knew who he was talking to get into program, and then he died.
yeah,
And he never got to get into program. And he said, what a waste. Like he didn't get a chance and he died. Go
that
through
is
your
true.
life like that. So age is not, it's not relevant. In fact, I think it's a lot more fun when you're older because you kind of see things in a different light. The other side of the coin is you get to work with so many young people And it's really fun because you'll find they say, well, what do you think?
Yeah.
Years of experience. Tell us. This is
Yeah.
this is something for all age groups. But I'm
Yeah.
also going to share. This isn't all fun times. I'm excited, but I will
Right.
share. I cried. I wept. I complained. I
Yeah.
also laughed. I smiled. So there's because you're going through a process. That's what it
Mhm.
is a process. This isn't take a little pill and you'll be happy and cured. No, no. We're going to show you how to do it. You're going to walk through a desert, but you'll never be alone. And we'll walk with you. You'll never be alone. 24/7, you'll never be alone. But you got to walk through the desert, but you're not alone.
I
So
like that.
how cool is that?
I love that, man. And you're right. It may seem like you said, right? Oh, it's all happy, all cap, all courage, acceptance, peace, emotions, right? But no, it's actually I went through the shame, intense shame, if anything, guilt. Maybe I was stuck for a while, but through that journey, I was okay to sit with that and be
Yeah.
like, well, through this, I know the subconscious, my limiting beliefs are trying to keep me here because of just conditioning, programming. But at the end of the day, you trusted yourself. And that's key. You trusted yourself and had faith in this program that it will help you. And that's all you could do, right? Because again, right, I could tell you all the secrets, quote unquote secrets of like porn free men, right? Like, oh yeah, follow this. But if you're just gonna read it and not take action, then you're gonna you feel worse, to be honest,
You
because
feel worse.
now you know better, right?
I'm going
And
to go bring my 50 books in here and stack them up because I'd read them and then I'd feel worse.
right, because you now you have knowledge, and you're like, what the? You're not doing anything, right? You were better off reading that one book and applying that same book many, many times, right? Like, or breaking the cycle, right? Reading
What's
that
the
book and
process
applying
though?
it.
Yeah, even there's a book called Breaking the Cycle, and you go through this book together every Sunday. But I could have
Yeah.
read that. I did read that book before this program. I did read that book. I read it and put it down, and that was it. This now goes back to it, and we follow it every week and follow a process. And whoa,
Yeah.
yeah, great.
Shout out to Chris, man. His calls are awesome. Is it
The way this
teaching style?
program was
Yeah.
set up, it was so well done. I mean, the management, the employee, everybody has a special role and a special place.
100%. So, John, I want to thank you, brother. I'm not taking much of your time here. Thank you for sharing your story and your experience. And what would you, in one word, your experience with the overall program in a year? What would you say in one word?
What was the word I started out with when we started this call?
I believe you said freedom.
Freedom,
Yeah.
freedom,
All right.
freedom.
Freedom.
Something. It's not just a word, FREE, freedom.
Freedom. Okay, I love it. And brother, I like you express a lot of that emotion. You clearly have awakened something inside you, and it's very awesome to see that. I love this. John, even before I met you or meaning when you joined the program, I remember saying this to I say this to everyone, but you're already rebooted the moment you decided to be here, implement. It's already there. It's just you uncovering all the garbage, the trauma, the emotions. You're already there, and it's cool to see that manifested here for you. And brother, thank you for sharing your story. And brothers listening, hopefully John here inspired you to take some action, regardless of age or any limiting belief. It's never too late, regardless of how you feel. It's really taking the action and taking a chance on yourself, really. And you are worthy. You are worthy of experiencing a free from compulsion of sexual compulsion. So, brothers, I'll see you on the next call. And John, thank you, brother.